If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Seven Kinds of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki, and with me is Doctor and famous author Adega Outlaw. How are you doing tonight, brother?
Good evening. I am doing wonderful. What's new and exciting?
Oh, man, everything's new and exciting, or everything's old and exciting, because tonight we're going to talk about some Viking stories and some Viking traditions.
Let's hope so. I don't get lost in my excitement over this stuff. It's actually really cool. And I know there's people out there who know more about this than we do, but it's still fun anyway, so suck it.
That's right. Damn straight. That's right. Mexican Iron Man's in the house tonight. Chris Persia, Samantha Joe, one of my Valkyries is here. Hello, Samantha Joe. Eris of Chaos, my battle angel is here. Hello, Eris of Chaos. Lady Mist, the guardian of the void. The wonderful Lady Mist that I banished to the void on Trey's stream one night is here. Hello, Lady Mist. And speaking of Trey, my brother from another mother, Max World Entertainment, Trey is here. And the Orville family is here. Hello, Orville family. How are you doing tonight? DJ Odyssey is in the house. DJ is about to do a 48-hour stream, y'all. A 48-hour stream. I'm like, holy crap, dude. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. They can pay me to do that. It ain't happening.
That's when you catch him at 36 hours and he starts being silly. It'll be fun.
Oh yeah. I'm going to. Definitely. I'm going to. I believe that's going off tomorrow at like 8 p.m. I think DJ said that's gonna go off 8 p.m. tomorrow. It's gonna be exciting. Absolutely exciting. I can't wait to see what happens. Chris Persia, the power wrench, the wrench of wrenches is here. How are you doing, Chris Persia? Louis X Sparrow, hello. Hello, Luis. Saucy Wench. Man, a bunch of people in here tonight. So let's get cracking into this, dude. You had told me we really hadn't decided, like, oh, are we going to talk about the gods? Are we going to talk about the myths? Are we going to talk about the legends? So, Mexican Iron Man, where's the free food and drink bar? Isn't it happy hour? If I'm going to listen to more white people ancient history, I better be drunk.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, get off my lawn. Mexican Iron Man, unless you hit a mow it. Oh, shit. I'm going straight to hell for that one. Cancel Loki. Oh,
fair warning. Some of you know that I've been having connection difficulties. I thought it was my modem, but I think it's my IPS. So if I start cutting in out, patience, I will be back. Either that or just cut the stream because you don't want to hear from me. But either way, it's all good.
Oh shit. So what did you dig into? I know you said you had like an interesting,
little different take, yeah. Because with the other ones, with the Olympians and the Titans and stuff, we went into individuals, and I decided, since I know some of them, and some of them have made screen history with, the recent movies and some of the older movies. I think people know a lot of stories, whether they've been corrupted or not. But I wanted to get into the history of where all these Norse mythology or pantheon came from. And the difficulty with this is they have very few sources. The earliest sources are basically poems that were salvaged, they didn't keep records that were easily obtainable. I mean, the Vikings were Vikings, they'd rather raid, plunder,
pillage, party.
all that fun stuff. So you have some of their early poems, but they're very few. And then the Christian came in, and I'm trying to remember his name. Is like Snore. I kept thinking of Snore, Snorri, and he wrote some things down. And the general consensus is it's close, but it was twisted by a Christian point of view. So it doesn't actually really represent everything that they had. And another thing about the Norse, they weren't so interested about the accuracy. They were more interested about what it did to the heart and what it did to your drive and emotions. That's why Odin was a certain type of guy that he was, and why they tended to be fearless in battle, is because all their beliefs were based on being unbelievably tough.
Yep. And dying in battle.
Right.
You had to prove your worth in battle to get picked to go to Valhalla.
Exactly. Now, you guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong, or if you think Loki's wrong, but guess what? Even more so than the Olympians and the Titans, the Norse stories are harder to pin down for accuracy. So we can tell you whatever we want, and you're just going to have to say, all right, it's true, but then you're going to believe whatever you want and say, yeah, it's true. It's what it does for Norse stuff, and this is where the pagans kind of have an advantage.
Yep.
And to a lot of religions, it's what it does to your heart. So, all right. I wanted to. Those squirrels don't work on me. Sorry, I'm not squirrel. Before everything existed that we know of, before the world existed that we know of, there was nothing except for a few giants and a great divide between the giants. It was ice on one side and fire on the other side, and a couple of gods. There was the Atir and the Vetir. Oh, jeez. Pronunciation. You guys give me a hard time about Adega. Go ahead. Do you know those two?
Jotun. Yeah, Jotun is the last one, and the Asari are the Asir are the
that's Odin's group.
Yeah,
you got Fenrir's group and you got Odin's group.
Yep.
Fenrir's group, Fenrir and Freya, they dealt more in when it came to emotional. They were the gardeners. They were the ones that were close to having a grounded society based on being emotional and compassionate and sexual, where Odin's side was based on law, order, power, and war. And they got along pretty well, as you can imagine, if there's a balance. But at one point, it didn't quite go so well. But in the beginning, let's go back to the beginning. We have this mass separation, according to Norse tradition. The hot side and the cold side, the ice and the fire, slowly came together.
Yeah.
And when it came together, it killed a giant. And so these gods said, well, let's make good use of this. And with the bones of the giant, they made the mountains. With the blood of the giant, they made the oceans. And with the rest, they made the world, or Midgard. They had their own place to reside, and as you guys know, that's Asgard. And what held Asgard up was a giant tree. And that, for the life of me, I cannot pronounce. I will give it an attempt as soon as I find a close translation. The Azir, the two groups was the Azir and the Vanir from this pronunciation, but Yakins, yeah, it's a big word.
Yggdrasil.
That's the one. That is the tree.
Yep, the tree of life.
The tree of life. Now, it's an interesting tree. I want to come back to it later on. But the branches held up Asgard. Some traditions say it was all by itself and had the rainbow bridge. And that fits in with the beliefs from the Norse about Ragnarok and the giant serpent that pulls down the bridge. We can get into that later. But these gods are walking around Midgard, and they find, in some stories, 2 trees. In other stories, 2 pieces of driftwood. And they say, well, we're going to animate these. They animate them, and then we have our first humans. And that's how it all started. Your turn.
Dude, that is absolutely that is absolutely epic. And the fact that Midgar and Asgard are in 2 different places. It's one of the oldest divisions of, in their mind, heaven being in a completely different place. It's like heaven wasn't connected to the earth. Asgard and Midgard were 2 completely different places in their minds. So one of the things that I've always found interesting is the connection between Yule
There we go. Let's do it.
and Christmas. Okay, we're talking about, and we will get into religion here a little bit because this is a Thursday night show, and it's not a weekly show, and I don't mind delving into that.
Yeah, because, on the panel we have me, a Christian, which, again, I never get into my denomination because it's not important. And then you have Loki, who's a pagan, which you never get into the beliefs of pagans because they're varied and wide. And, but here we're going to talk about how Christmas, and there is no debate about this, almost the majority of all the traditions in Christmas, except for the fact of Christ's birth, all come from the Norse. Almost all of them.
And a large majority of the population, and the Viking population in Scandinavia, eventually turned into Christians. And a lot of people have read that, no, Jesus wasn't born around Christmas time. It's not when it happened. One of the demands that the Vikings had was, you will conform our traditions into Christianity. You will meld our most important traditions into Christianity, and we will convert to Christianity.
Because other than that, it was pretty easy for them because all they did is say, okay, well, we still got Odin, we still got Thor, we still got Loki, we still got Balder, which is the picture that you see on my avatar. And says, well, just throw Christ in there. And for the longest time, that's how it went.
Yep, that's how it went. And I want to read you guys some stuff off here. Point number 1. The midwinter feast lasted 12 days. Sound familiar?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Vikings would decorate evergreen trees with gifts such as food, candy, carvings, ornaments, and food for the tree spirits to encourage them to return in the spring. And the reason why they used evergreen, the reason why they practically worshipped the evergreen, is that it always stayed green all year. It was the strongest tree out there in their eyes because it always stayed green. So this healthy, living tree that would stay green symbolized what the Vikings were going through during winter. We are like the evergreen. We are going to stay strong. We are going to party. We are going to have fun. We're going to burn this damn Yuletide log all winter long and kick ass and take names. That was like their spring break. They laughed in the face of freezing to death because it wasn't gonna happen. They weren't gonna let it happen. That was their strength. Mistletoe, combined with a mother's tears, resurrected her son, the god of light and goodness, in Viking myth. The Celts believed mistletoe possessed healing powers as well and would ward off evil spirits.
Now, here's something that goes along with this, and I bet you didn't know that. You look at Hollywood, Holly, and magic, the city of making magic, Hollywood. Go ahead. Right. That's where it came from, actually.
I did not know that either. I see Adega bringing the facts. Adega bringing the facts. Now here's the kicker, and this is the one that really blew me away. In Norse tradition, Old Man Winter visited homes to join the festivities. The Viking god Odin was described as a wanderer with a long white beard and is considered the very first father of Christmas. Ain't that a bitch?
Dun dun dun.
Viking
No one should
children,
be offended by the truth. Just
No.
live by it, learn by it, and you know what? It's not bad to know the truth.
Easterland Burkholder says the evergreen symbolize strength. I like that. Winter will end and spring will come. Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir. Viking children would leave their shoes out by the hearth on the eve of the winter solstice with sugar and hay for Odin's 8-legged horse, Sleipnir. Like a reindeer, almost.
And guess where he got the 8-legged horse from?
Loki.
Dun dun dun.
Now here's my favorite part of all this, because it talks about the Yule log, and this was their lifeblood. This is what got them through the winter. The Yule log was a whole tree that was burned for 12 days in the hearth fire. The Celts believed the sun stood still during the winter solstice. They thought by keeping the Yule log burning for these 12 days, it encouraged the sun to move again, making the days longer. The largest end would be fed into the hearth, wine poured over it, and it would be lit with the remains of the previous year's Yule log. Everyone would take turns feeding the length of timber into the fire as it burned. Letting it burn out would bring bad luck. Why? Because you don't have heat. You don't have the heat you need. You don't have the heat you need. Chris Persia says, let us not forget Odin's colors were blue, gray, and black, and the first depiction of Santa had him garbed in blue. Yes, it did. Later predictions had him garbed in green, and it was Coca-Cola that put him in the red and white.
Yes, it was.
It was Coca-Cola that put Santa in the red and white because those were Coca-Cola colors.
I think it's still Sweden that still keeps him in green.
Yep. Sweden still keeps him in green, which is funny because Sweden, the first technical king of Sweden was Bjorn Ironside, which was Ragnar Lothbrok's first son. If you've ever heard of Bjorn Ironside. Anybody out there who watches Vikings probably knows who I'm talking about. But he took over Sweden in the end.
Right.
Kids ended up ruling.
Right.
And that is the similarities between the Yuletide and Christmas. And to me, that's insane. You've got Santa. You've got the 12 days of Christmas. You've got the evergreen. So you got the Christmas tree. You got the mistletoe. You've got the kids leaving treats out for Odin's horse, leaving treats out for the reindeer. I missed one. Children would traipse from house to house with gifts of apples, oranges, spiked with cloves, and resting in baskets lined with evergreen boughs.
It's not a bad thing, though, because after 800 years, it's all been accepted by many, many cultures. It's a way that the Norse have influenced a lot of what's going on nowadays. And when people think of Christmas, it's only the really unusual or the desperate or the outcast that say that there's something wrong with Christmas.
Yeah.
Because
go ahead.
No, World War I, both sides, the offending forces decided, you know what, we're going to play soccer instead of shooting bullets at each other. It combined the beliefs of several different groups where the Norse were no longer raiding and looting and pillaging because their celebration was accepted by other people. It's more of a unifier. It doesn't take away from anyone's belief. It just adds to the party.
Yeah. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. And the ambassador says, personally, I like to look at the old world Santa or Father Christmas with the long fur-lined coat and hat. The commercial Santa is fine, but I'll prefer the other.
Wow. If you don't mind, do you get more on Christmas? Or on
No,
Yule?
no, that was everything. That was
The
everything
Yule.
on the Yule.
The Yule.
The Yule. Yes,
Yeah.
Yule. They spelled it with a J. We
Let's
say
talk.
Yule, but they spelled it with a J.
Yeah. Okay. The one center figure out of all of this, and there's tons of stories about Loki and Thor and all the different things that they did, but I wanted to get into Odin a little bit, if that's all right with you guys. The movies even depicted this, had one eye at one point. And early on, Odin was obsessed, absolutely obsessed, and he was the first one there to help, build Midgard and Asgard and set up the society and had giants build the walls around Asgard. But he was obsessed with having knowledge and wisdom and being able to rule. Unlike the Titans and the Olympians, no one really wanted to mess with him that often because he did a pretty decent job. And he was even there in their stories about Ragnarok. Well, in order to gain the wisdom that he had to sacrifice his eye, and so he has an eye patch. But a little known story, and I didn't know this until I started researching this, was the story about Odin sacrificing himself to Odin. Sounds odd, but we get to that tree, and this is why I was kind of hoping Katia would be here because she knows a lot about this too. We've talked about it. This tree that holds up Midgard and Asgard, well, there's also an underworld to it. And in the underworld, there's the Norms, 3. They're kind of like witch creatures. And they deal with runes, making magic and weaving the fates, as they said, where the fates will dictate what happens with men on the world. And they weave it into the tree and leave their runes and marks on the tree. And it distributes the fates throughout all of creation. Well, Odin kept saying, I want that. They have power down there. And if I had that power, I could help. And he did it for the right reason. Well, the only way that they knew of that he would be worthy of being able to understand what was going on down in this underworld was they had to make an adequate sacrifice. So he decided to sacrifice himself. He went onto the edge of the great tree and hanged himself. And while he was hanging, he stabbed himself with his unbreakable spear. And he stayed there for a week. So while he's suffering, bleeding out, and looking down into the depths, finally after that week, he started to see deeper and deeper. And then he saw what he was looking for, the runes. Now, according to Norse mythology, the runes aren't just the language, and they were used all the way up by the Germanics, the Norwegians, they were used all the way up until our current alphabet got integrated into their society about 1500s, I think. Maybe it was earlier than that. It couldn't have been earlier than the 1200s, but these runes were not just a language, but as even still, pagans, a lot of them believe there is magic associated with the words. So it's a dual thing. You speak and you express energies through these runes. And when Odin learned this, according to their mythology, his eyes were opened. He now had power to create, to heal. He healed himself. And in there, it's talking about his old self died. And this could be part of the Christian influence into the Norse mythology. And he grew anew and became the wisest of the wise and the most powerful of the powerful. all because he was willing to give up everything in order to understand a little bit of knowledge that was incredibly powerful. And I had never known that story of Odin sacrificing himself to Odin. I thought that was really cool.
I had never heard that either. That's not something you normally read about.
No, that's where the runes came from, was all from that.
You know, when we look at the Viking civilization and talk about so many parallels between religions and their ways, and how little there is to learn from because they didn't write anything down. The Greeks, a lot of what happened to the Greeks and the Romans happened over 1,000 years before the Vikings even existed. In a way, they weren't sailing ships. They weren't going raiding. They wouldn't even been called Vikings or Northmen back then. And you've got this civilization that pops up and ends up invading England, invading other countries, and taking what they want. And it's still, what, over 1,000 years after the Roman Empire ended?
Right.
We know more about the Roman Empire, and we know more about the Greeks because in many ways they were more advanced. Yet when it came to combat, the Vikings were using tactics that both the Greeks and the Romans used to fight, and they won. They won a lot of fights.
Well, we get back to that, and this is something I was going to bring up because that's exactly right. When they look at their supreme God in their society, who is willing to stab himself and work through the pain, willing to hang himself for a week and all that suffering, and he was able to bring back better things for the society. All of these believers in the Vikings thought, we can suffer through this. We can fight through this. Endurance is nothing. We're going to bring back to our families what we can conquer. Did I get lost? We're still here?
Yeah, we're still here.
Okay.
We're still here. I didn't want to interrupt you if you had anything else to say.
No.
Damn it, I don't want to interrupt him. I definitely don't want to interrupt him. They had a constitution that was completely different.
Right.
This was everything to them. When they went raiding because there wasn't stuff at home. They traded a lot. They worked a lot with the other I don't want to call them houses, jarls and lords and kings. They had a huge trade route, and they went and took what they wanted when they wanted. When they didn't, it wasn't just called, oh, we're going to go on a raid. They called it Viking. We're going to go a Viking because that's what they did. That was their way.
They tended to be, because there were, and these are some of the colonists that went into England and the others. There, you had the Aethar and the Venar, or however you pronounce the two. But there still was within their society those who wanted to farm. And they were respected. They may not have gone out and fought, but they were still respected. And they had this rich farmland in places that the English and the Germans and the rest of them were barely even using. And it was a waste.
Yep.
Why let them waste it on their kings and their little hamlets? When these people aren't using it, we could use it better. And they went in there and did use it better.
That's right. And Psycho Dwarf 9 nails it. Viking wasn't a people. It was a job code. That's right. You're absolutely right. It was, we're going to go in there and we are going to take it and we're going to use it, and we're going to use it way better than they did. In the Roman day, the Viking people were commonly lumped together with all Germanic barbarian tribes. They spent centuries as Roman mercenaries. Resolute Germ nailed it. They were part of the Germanic barbarian tribes. Psycho Dwarf 9, God save us from the fury of the Northmen. Yes. Yes, God save us from the fury of the Northmen. Damn straight.
Now, in the first season of Vikings, you brought something up because it kind of goes along with what we're talking. I'm trying to remember he became king. Why can't I remember his name? He was the one who invented the sailing device, so they knew where to go.
Ragnar Lothbrok.
Ragnar, that's right.
Yep.
Either way, he'd overcome one of his rivals, and the rival was he was wrong, and he had to be punished with death. And they did that thing. What was it called? Angel wings?
No, it was called a Blood Eagle.
Blood Eagle. That's what it is.
Yes, yeah.
Well, to show how much they believed in this and how powerful, imagine, and because this really did happen in their time.
Yep.
Imagine having to hold onto a bar on your knees while someone through your back cut open your ribs and pulled out your lungs, and you had to sit there quiet until you died.
Yeah, no screaming. But that wasn't normal either. That was like, hey, this is your last chance, bitch. You have dishonored yourself. You have dishonored your family. This is your last chance. If you can get through this without screaming, then you can get to Valhalla. You can get to heaven.
Yep.
Yeah. They cut your back open. They pulled your lungs and shit out, and then spread your back skin out, and it looked like two wings, and it was called a blood eagle. Yeah, gross as fuck, Samantha Joe. Yes,
maybe, but it proved your worth in their society. And it's not uncommon. They're in every one of these. I can't really call them primitive, but in some regards they are basic societies, because I'll let you guys in on, it's not really a secret, but it's something that the natives call sacred. And I was too old when I got involved with the nations to do it, but I've had my own experience, and they consider it the same. But for Native Americans, they have a thing called a sun dance, and this goes along with some of the Viking things, where you have to be able to endure in order to either receive your adulthood or your salvation or what have you. And for the Native Americans, what they do is you fast, and then you go in, and if any of you had a sweat lodge, you'll know what this is like. They're about 200 degrees. You're in solid darkness. They throw water on the embers that are inside this little shack that's covered in skins. You're laying on skins, and it's pretty hot, and it's extremely humid, and it's very hard to breathe. I've done this, and you have to do it for 2 hours. Now, I made it for an hour. Sometimes they let you have a break in between, but you do that for 2 hours. And then after having fasted for that long, it's like 2 days, and then having the sweat lodge where you're completely exhausted, they hang you from meat hooks for 24 hours. They literally hook your skin to where you're hanging by 2 hooks, and that's what holds you up. And if it tears to where you fall, you have to do it all over again. Not necessarily the same day, and that's their endurance test. It's called, or I should say, it's part of half of my society. That's called a sun dance, and it's your passage. And it's not only a male thing. I've ran into some of the women where they could, where's your sun dance? And then they'll show you scars on their shoulders or on their backs where they were hooked. So it's an incredible feat. And one of the thing that, and it's goes along with the Norse society, when you have these different really heavy endurance things, the blessing out of it may sound really disgusting, but I knew one of the code talkers who actually was in World War II, and he was on one of the islands, and they were pinned down by the Japanese, and they hadn't eaten in a long time, and he's around a lot of these regular non-Native Americans, and they're crying and whining, and they're eating their shoe leather because they're starving. And he's looking at these guys, and he thought to himself, says, this is not as hard as my sun dance. I can make it through it. And they did. Yeah. And it's the same with these Vikings. They push themselves so hard, whether it be through the winter or whether it be through war or whatever. I could do that. I can do anything. And it's a serious accomplishment. Whether in the case of a Blood Eagle, where you can get through it onto Valhalla, or you can get through it and you feed your family for the winter.
B-Star Adega Outlaw is the one who's talking about Native Americans. And Adega, she says, who is talking about Native Americans? I need to pick your brain for my new story.
Oh, I may not be the best authority. I was adopted out, and I was older when I started learning and trying to find out which nation. The Lakota were going to adopt me into the tribe. I haven't been able to get back. I think because adoption records are sealed, but I do know that my father was full-blooded, and I think he was a Cherokee simply because of the way I look. And I'm not tall like a Navajo. I'm not dark like a lot of the Western. I'm more lighter like the Eastern ones. I can grow facial hair like some of the Eastern ones, like the Cherokee and some of the other ones. So it's a little different for me. I may not be the best source, but I have stories of like where the Sweat Lodge starts with the witch and the brothers. There's different things that I know, but I'm probably not a good source. But I appreciate the ask.
Big Jeff B earlier said, yeah, there it is. Tough to scream with no lungs. Jeff, what they did was they opened your back and you're biting on this piece of wood wrapped in leather. And they opened your back and they started busting through your ribs with your back open while you were still alive. By the time they pulled the lungs out, you were gone. By the time they got there, you weren't there anymore. If you were still alive, your brain hadn't caught up with the fact that you were dead yet.
Right.
It was one of those things that, no matter what, you were not going to survive this. Nobody could survive it now. Nobody could survive it then. It was just a test of, well, if you scream, then you're dead and you're not going to go to heaven. If you can endure this without without screaming out, Bro Entertainment, the scream would happen while they're tearing open your back and cutting through, breaking your ribs. Yes. Yes. Jeppy, Ensign is 17 morning. Yeah. Some nasty stuff. At least we're not showing pictures. I could probably show a picture.
Nah.
We'll refrain from doing that. And we have gotten completely off topic. Oh my God.
No, but hey, how off topic are we? Because the whole society of them being such incredible warriors, at least the warrior part of them, not the farming part of them, but even then, those people all knew how to swing an axe.
Oh yeah, they all knew how to swing an axe. They all knew how to fight. They knew formations. Even the women. You're talking about shield maidens, women that would get in a line and fight. These people knew their tactics. They knew how to take on a group twice their size. And I want to tell you guys something.
Not size, but anyway, go ahead.
Number. Yeah, they were bigger. They were often bigger and stronger. So we're talking numbers here. Imagine 32 Vikings going up against 64 Englishmen. Okay. Right. And the Vikings had men and women in their unit, but they also fought in a shield wall, which was a phalanx, which is exactly what the Spartans used to fight out of. They were very organized. They knew how to fight. They had spears, they had swords, they had bows, and they knew their tactics. And that was the difference. The Vikings remembered things that the English had forgotten over time. Doesn't matter where almost all of what you've got in Europe came from Saxons and Romans, because the Romans had pushed that far. So you've got the descendants in Britain. You've got descendants of Romans, which are Italians, Saxons. You've got Vikings. You've got a whole plethora of some of the greatest warriors of all time under one roof. But the English,
Yeah, and you could imagine if you're an Englishman around 5', 5'2" at the time, and here come these 6'3" Norse. You may have superior numbers, but you're looking at a woman who's got a foot taller than you, running at you with a shield and an axe. I don't know how brave you may feel you are, but you know, she was cutting wood just like the guys were, and she cut you down just like the guys will.
That's right. That's right. And for the English, they hadn't seen that chicks women weren't allowed to be warriors.
You know what? That's actually not accurate.
Oh, it's not?
Because some of the best examples of leadership in we need purple on or someone for anyone from England. They got statues, and I can't remember her name, but there was a couple of them where I think she was Scottish. Her husband was killed, her daughters were taken out and raped, and of course in front of her, and she was so pissed she gathered an army, and Maeve I think is her name, and she led the armies of the Scots and did some horrific damage. The English had some incredible women warriors. I mean, they weren't common, but when they stood out, they really stood out. There was a pirate I just learned about, and she was incredible too, so much so that the Queen of England said, you know what, I admire you so much, I have to sit here in this stuffy castle and you're out there rocking the world. You're pardoned on everything. So she was free to go out and plunder and loot ships at her will. Yeah, that's the one. Samantha knows.
Odyssey, yes. Odyssey. Yes, now I know who you're talking about. Yes. And Saucy Wench just tipped a $1.99 super chat. I'm really enjoying this topic. Very interesting. Thank you so very much, Saucy Wench. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Every bit keeps us going on the air each and every week. Thank you. Thank you very much. Trey is off. Time for a refill, among other things. But I hope you have an amazing evening. Love you, Adega and Loki. Love all of you. Please stay safe in all that you do. We will, sir. And his stream,
you too, brother.
His own stream coming up here in about 17 minutes, guys. If you aren't subscribed to Trey, check him out on Max World Entertainment. Awesome content. Awesome guy. If you like his content, subscribe and ring that bell.
Yeah, I guess we just have a few more minutes so you can have time to Jaloja and go hook up with Trey's world.
Yes. Boudicca burned London. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She did some damn damage too. Yeah, I knew you were talking about. Then Samantha said the name, and I was like, oh, okay, now I know. Yes, yes. And Psycho Dwarf said the name. Psycho Dwarf and Samantha got it almost at the exact same time. And it's just it's amazing to hear about a lot of stuff. You know, you hear about Joan of Arc, but Joan of Arc was basically burned because she talked to God when the priest.
She was right every time, though. She knew where the sword was.
Right.
She knew how to lead the armies. When she wasn't there, they lost. When she was there, they won.
Yep. And it comes down to one of those, who has the power.
Yep.
It all comes down to who has the power and who wants to keep the power. Because if a commoner can talk to God and receive messages from God, then there's no point in having a church, is there?
Right. Didn't keep the people in line.
That's right. That is right. And the way that has shifted over the years. There is a reason why I consider myself a pagan, and it's not because I don't believe in a God. I just think that mankind doesn't have the mental capacity to understand what created everything. And we have made shit up along the way. A lot of things are written, everything's written by man, but we just haven't comprehended what exactly it is. And that's my personal opinion. And anybody can feel exactly how they want to. They can worship whatever they want to. I'm not going to tell anybody what they need to think, believe, because to me, I think that's wrong.
Loki and I were talking about this before the stream, and because, like I said, I'm from the Christian side of things, and in my belief, and I think you guys, well, hopefully you agree with this, is that when confronted with a choice of beliefs, the person who will always make the choice to believe what has been proven to be right and correct and good is the better. And the person who sees what is right and good and ignores it for whatever reason, whether it be political, whether it be financial, whether it be just some petty little argument, that is the lesser person. Even if they come out on top for some short amount of time, they are still the lesser human, because the greater human is the one who hangs on to what is true, regardless of the source. When it's proven to be true and you hold on to it, you are the better. And it comes in every society. There's a reason why people follow a lot of these false and fake beliefs or different, and I can't say that all false, because they're not. The reason why people will follow something is because there is truth somewhere in there and you can feel it and it makes sense. Maybe it's wrapped up in a whole lot of garbage, but that one truth pulls people in and they will grab hold of it. And then for the Norse, the bit of truth was work hard, support your people. That is a universal truth.
It is. It is. Work hard and support your people. Ellie Love just tipped a $4.99 super chat and says, "This is amazing. Love your content. Thank you, Adega and Loki." Thank you, Ellie. Thank you so very much. Thank you, you guys. And Ambassador, give me just a second. Ambassador says, "Loki, if you ever want to discuss the creation narrative from the Hebrew Bible, get a hold of me. There is something in the original text that is lost in the English translation."
No, there's more than something.
Yeah. And that's amazing to me how that works. Because yes, over the years it has been translated. They used to do this by hand.
Right.
And something can change just from the perspective of how someone was taught, just because they were taught differently.
Right.
So you get a change, and suddenly it has ramifications you never would have thought 100 years after that, 1,000 years after that.
It also depends on what the ideals are of the person who's translating. Maybe they are a Jew, but are they a Hasidic Jew? Are they, there's several different types, and sorry, I can't think of them right. And when it comes across, take the word, and this is where it's going to throw some Christians off. This is fun. Take the word Rabbana. Now, in the Bible, in the original Greek translation from the Hebrew, Rabbana could mean several different things. It could mean master of the household. It could be master of the fields, or it could mean master, my husband. And at one point, Mary called Christ master, my husband. So it all depends on who's translating it. Is he going to be translated into master? Is it going to be translated in leader of the household? Or is it going to be translated in this is my husband? But what we have now is a belief that he was never married because the translator decided to change the original into something else.
Yep. Yeah. And Mexican Ironman says, "Smash the like button even if you didn't understand all the fancy talk of tonight's intellectual Caucasian panel." I think he's more racist than.
No, he's talking about you because I'm a 50-50.
Oh shit! Hey,
even though I look white.
Oh, I'm Italian. I'm Cherokee. I'm Irish. I'm English.
So he is the racist. He sees the color of our skin and assumes Mexican. Yeah. Get off my lawn.
That's right. Get off my lawn. Bring the mower and you can get on my lawn. Oh shit! Tonight's show was partially sponsored by Ancient Alien Mysteries of the History Channel. I think I could listen to Adega talk for like 8 hours straight and read in the phone book. No, you couldn't, because you won't shut up long enough to let the man talk.
Exactly. Get back to work. I got hedge to trim.
Oh, shit. Oh my god.
I'm gonna get killed for that.
Oh shit. I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, Lady Mist just tipped $1. Thank you so much, Lady Mist. Give me just a second to find you on here. Oh, enjoying this show. Thank you so much, Lady Mist. Thank you. And you know what? I love the fact that when you do this on Stream Elements, you can write whatever you want. I know with it on this one in particularly, the one we're on, you have to spend so much to say so much.
Right.
And Lady Mist with another $1.99 and doesn't. Thank you, Lady Mist. Thank you.
And Samantha Joe, you can call us horrible, but we saw Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
So-
we saw Lord of the Rings. Oh, we're
Right.
gonna end it there. We gotta end it there. Yeah. We may be horrible, but at least we saw Lord of the Rings.
We wouldn't talk like this if we didn't love all you guys.
Oh shit. Thank you guys so much. Thank you everyone who's been here hanging out with us for the last hour. Thank you. I love this topic. We got to talk more about this. We're going to have to talk more about this. And I got to tell you all this thing I thought of when I was reading Adega's book about this crazy Karen AI.
You have to write it.
I have to write it. I'm going to write it and we'll talk about it. But Mexican Iron Man, what is Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, there's the Mexican version, Lord of the Taco Truck.
Yeah, Lord of the Taco Truck. Have you read Lord of the Taco Truck? Mexican Iron Man? We're taking the truck to East LA, man, to drive it in the river from whence it came from. We pulled it out of the East LA River and now it's going back. Oh shit. Oh, Orville family, Lord of the Rings marathon. Okay, guys, we've got to go because Trey's probably like, come on, guys, wrap up your show so I can go live. Oh, Mexican Iron Man can't read. Fuck.
We know that's a lie.
Yeah, we know that's a lie. Because
you read the instructions to the lawnmower. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, you read the instructions and you read the blueprints on how to make that iron thong with the two-stroke motor. Oh, Loki talks too much. I turned into your Adega. Yeah, I'm sure, right? I talk too much now. Won't Mexican Iron Man ever shut up? Oh, guys.
He needs to be on here to pick on us.
Oh, shit. Dude, Mexican Iron Man, if you want to come on next Thursday with me and Adega, he's laughing his bitch ass head off. Come hang out with me and Adega on a Thursday night, bro. Come out and hang out with me and Adega. Adega. I'm saying it right too much now. I'm saying it right. Adega. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'm not going to roll the credits tonight. I'll roll the credits tomorrow morning. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. Go check out Trey's stream, and we'll see you guys next week.
Good night, all.